Now that we've covered methods, we need to talk about another building block, which is classes. Okay? A class is essentially a blueprint of an object. If you look in the real world, a class would be compared as a cookie cutter, right? So if you have a cookie cutter is not, you use it to mold cookie, to create cookies, right? So you take it and start cutting the dough to make a bunch of different cookies. So that's the idea. You think of a blueprint as even the architects, what they use. Like if they have a blueprint of a house, well, that blueprint of a house, it's not a house, but it's something that's used to create many houses. So you can take one blueprint and create many instances or many objects which are houses. So that's the idea of a class. And now we'll be talking about this very important discipline called object-oriented programming. If you look at a cup, right? You have a cup at home. A cup has a state, right? A cup could have a color, right? Thickness, capacity, and so many other things. Right? But it also has behaviors. So we can say a cup could break, excuse me, and when it breaks, it makes noises. Okay, so as you can see, we are now creating this entity, which is a class with states and behaviors, which will allow us to later take this entity and create many other instances of this entity with those behaviors and states. So let's take a look how to create classes in Java and how to take advantage of that. Because after all, the whole Java programming language is built upon this idea of classes, of objects. A group of people, programmers, very smart programmers, have created libraries which have all these classes in which we can instantiate or create objects out of them, okay, to make our lives much easier. So let's dive into code so we can see what we're talking about here. So let's go ahead and create a new project here. Intro classes. Finish. All right, so inside here, let's go ahead and create a package. com.gadi. Okay, so finish. And inside, we're going to go and now do a class. Remember this? There we go. Let's call this class Java class. And we're going to give it a void main. That's going to be our entry point. Say finish. And there we go. So nothing new here. Okay, so this is our Java class, right? Our template, which has the void main, which is the entry point of any Java program. It has to have at least one main method. Okay, so there we go. So now we are going to create a different file, a Java file here. So right click and go to class again. This time we won't have a main method here because this is a standalone class. We're going to just call this person. Say finish. So I said earlier that classes are blueprints that you can use to create objects. Okay. These blueprints have to have their states. They have to have states and properties, right? Because they are their own building block, their own entity that you can use. So think of a person, right? What is a person? What is a person? Person needs to have some features. What? So the first feature a person would have, for instance, would be what we call instance variables, right, in Java, but essentially they're states or fields, right? So a person will have a name, right? So a string, we can represent that property of the person as a string. A name is a string. So I say string name, okay? Let's go ahead and give it an empty string. So we can say int age is equal to 0. Okay, just to start with. So now you can see we have our instance variables or properties, okay, or states or fields. So there's a lot of names. Just think of this as the properties of what a person is. And next we said a class has to have behaviors. Well, what a person does? Well, a person could do a few things. So behaviors are functions, things that people do. In this case, this person would do something. So what are things that people do? Well, people could cry. So to to represent behaviors, we use functions. So we would say public void cry. Okay, that's what a person would do. What would be another behavior a person would have? Another behavior could be, for instance, public void say name. If you ask a person what's their name, they should be able to at least tell you what's their name, right? So as you can see, we can have a lot of behaviors we can put here in our template, our person template. So for now, let's just stop here. Now that we have this template, we have our class person, we need now to use this cookie cutter, this blueprint, to actually create persons, people. So let's go back to our Java class here, which has our main method here. This is where we create our instances of person, our actual object, because up till now here, we don't have an object. We just have a blueprint of what a person could be, okay? So now we have to create that person, create that object. We call instantiating objects, which means essentially creating objects. Okay, so how do we do that in Java? Well, we start, let's put N here, instantiating, that's the correct spelling. So how do we do that? Well, simply in Java, we just start by saying person, and you can see right away we have person showing here because it's our class, it's inside of our Magali Studio package here. So enter. We will have to name, because just anything, this is a type, right? When we say int something, so this is going to be type of our object, and we have to name it. We're going to call this my person is equal to new. See, that's how we know we're actually instantiating a new object of type person. New what? Person. There we go. And of course, we have this parentheses there to signify that's our object we are instantiating. We are creating the actual object out of our person class. Okay? So now we have this my person here. That's our reference to our object. This is our object in memory of type person that we can use now to do all the things that we can do. We can now use it to access our name, right, string, our age, integer, and even go ahead and access all of these behaviors, except these behaviors have nothing right now. So let's go ahead before we do anything, put something in them. Let's say system.out.print. Let's print crying, okay? And this one here, let's go and say system.out.print. For now, let's just go ahead and say name, okay? Something like that. Let's go back here. So now that we have completed our class, we can access my person. Hey, now, so we can say my person dot. So this dot means access. So we're accessing properties and or behaviors that we have specified in our person class. Okay, so as you can see, the moment you say dot, we have all these options. So age, name, we even have cry and say name. And you notice there's other stuff that is showing here, and we'll talk more about it. But as you notice, these are other methods that we can access. But you notice also most of these methods are methods that we did not create them. We only created say name, we created cry, and we have this string here, name and age. And we'll talk more about these other stuff that is popping out there, okay? So dot, let's say if we wanted to actually give an age, we can say dot age is equal, let's say 23. Okay, so now my person, again, dot name, we can give it my name, Paulo. So as you can see now, from having just a template of a class, right, a cookie cutter, now we have actually instantiated a cookie cutter, an actual object, right? Because now we have my person as the actual object, the thing that we can use, right? And now we are adding things to the properties, right? The state now is 23. The age is 23 now of the person. And the name, we gave it Paulo. So now if we go here, we say system.out.println. If you say my name is, and say my person.age, what do you think you're gonna get? Well, you're gonna get 23. We should run, and there it is. My name is 23, which makes no sense because we should put name here instead of age. You probably saw that. Say name. There we go. Let's save that again. But the point is the same, right? So my name is Paulo, right? So if we change this to George, that's my father-in-law. My name is George. Let's say Gloria, my mother-in-law. Wonderful people. If you run this, my name is Gloria. There we go. What if we wanted to go ahead and show the behaviors that we have here? What do we want? We want to access the cry and say set name. Well, simple enough, we can go ahead and say here through our object again, because everything has to be done through this object, because this is the only way we can access our behaviors and instance variables, right? So now we do the same here. We can go ahead and say, right before that, let's go ahead and comment that out. We can go ahead and say my person dot cry. There we go. And save. You run and says crying. You look back, see, we are now able to access the behavior. Let's say my person dot, let's see, what else do we have? Say name. There we go. Let's run this. Crying, say name. Perfect. This is amazing. And the fact that we are able to do this, it speaks volumes when it comes to code organization, when it comes to having control and make sure that whatever code we write is easily maintainable, is efficient, hopefully, and portable. Because if you think about it, this person, I can send this person class here to anybody else, another programmer, and they can use it. They will never have to go and touch anything. They just can call, create an instance, an object of person, and do as we did here and modify things. Right? In same thing, I can go and create another person here, right? Because remember, if I create another person, I'm creating another instance of my person class, which is another person, different person, who I can give different attributes, different properties. Okay? So what I could do again here, I can say person, second person is equal to new person. Now, this second person is a totally different person, okay? So now I can here I can say second person dot age is equal to 44. Second person dot name is Bonnie. Okay? The second person is obviously a different person from my person, right? Because now we have instantiated, we've created in memory another object that stands alone with its own copy of all of these properties here. So if we system print out, let's go ahead and do this again. Say second person dot cry. Of course, it will cry. Second person dot say name, of course it will say name, just like this too here. So if we save this and run, so you see repeating cry, crying, say name, crying, say name. So the first one is from my person, the second one is from the second person, right? So if we want to go ahead and spit out and show the second person age, well, we can do the same here. Just go say second person name. We can also add age and say second person that age and save. We should see, there you go, my name is Bonnie, age 45. So you can see the power of classes and being able to instantiate and create objects. So congratulations if you were able to get to this point, because this is the building a very, very important concept that we will use over and over and over and over again while we learn Java. And it's one of those topics that anytime you want to talk to any Java developer or any developer, they will most likely talk about object-oriented programming, what objects are, what a class is, because this is the building block for software development, right? If you want to be a good software developer, you have to understand how classes work and what classes are. And simply, that's what I just told you about classes. That's pretty much all that you need to know what a class is and how to instantiate a class. Okay, the concept, the idea is the same. It may change depending on different languages, programming languages, and so forth, but the essential part, the essential fundamental idea of what a class is exactly what I showed you here. We'll continue to talk about classes in the next videos, and I'll see you in the next video.